everyone, and welcome back to a new Forsaken Swap video. In today's video, we will be making someone that you guys have asked for a very long time. Killer Noob. And the design here is pretty interesting and unique compared to all of the rest of the survivors / killers. Now, in this video, I'll be showing you the full process of how I 3D modeled, animated, and created the entire environment for this animation. Now please sit back, relax, and grab some snacks and enjoy the video.
Did you forget about me? Yeah. Well, off to visit your mother.
Okay, another killer model, let's go! Now, in the back here you can see myself working on the outline and getting an understanding, making sure that it stays true to the reference, and trying to also still stick to what like an actual Forsaken modeler would do potentially, or what what they would look like in Roblox. So I'm trying to kind of just stay true to all of that with adding minimal detail, sharp corners, then rounding off the edges just like Guest 666. Which I don't know if you guys do know that, but if you look at the detail in Guest 666, you can actually see that she has rounded corners on her body, like on the very edges of the cubes, I guess, of her arms. I don't really know what you would call those. But yeah, and then I add that more anthropomorphic style to Noob, really just trying to make everything exaggerated and creepy. This is a twisted beast. This is pretty much what if Noob got the treatment that Guest did. So, it's like backwards in a sense. Oh no, it's like swapped. Whoa! Yeah, here's me making the scarf. I actually later kind of go back on the scarf and it's more of like a weird scarf. Because for some apparent reason, the cloth simulation was like really messed up and it really didn't want to work for me, so I had to edit it sadly, but not a big deal. Nonetheless, Noob is starting to look really good here. I had the horns, I had the little fur on his head, and then later I go in and sculpt in detail of the eyes and the face and really making sure that it's this horrifying beast. Okay, so like in the original design, when he opens up his mouth, it's very like gooey and drippy and stuff like that. So, but I kind of wanted it to be a little bit different. I'm gonna kind of, create a little bit of a different design. We have this going on here, where it's much more sharp, very, his whole entire mouth kind of opens up in two different parts and stuff. So that's pretty cool. And I also wanted to do his eyes a bit what the original one had. Go and make that real quick. Okay, I think that looks pretty darn good. Like, kind of scared, deep eyes. Very similar to the original. Now I'm thinking about what I'm probably going to do is textures and figure out what that would be. Now with the texturing, it's pretty darn straightforward to simplify it. I wanted to take the original colors and textures and make them more grainy, more realistic, and I turn usually the saturation lower so that they're a little bit darker seeming to kind of, hint at that more darker take on the horror genre that I'm trying to get, the killer creepy vibe, I guess. I usually try to make everything a little bit darker and not as bright and colorful as Roblox is, just because that creates more of that creepy vibe in general. It really helps to add to it too. And of course in the back here you can see myself messing with the skin textures so that you get that realistic vibe, and then the ambient occlusion, which adds like these kind of extra shadows where all the dark places should be, and really adding to that realistic vibe I'm going with. And then of course the black, dark hands and darkness on the horns, so that it really kind of wraps all together in this creepy vibe. Okay, so looking pretty darn cool visually and stuff. Eyes, horns, the whole vibe is very cool. Much scarier than the flat colors that I had before. I might add some ambient occlusion this later. I don't know, but we'll figure it out. Like it's definitely looking much better than it did. So I'm happy with it. It's a little bit wonky, a little bit funky. Time for animation, kind of. Mainly just preparing to really get into animating. This is just kind of like blocking out, making sure that I have all the characters, all the accessories that I want to have in one folder so that it can actually be, you know, made in the way that I want to. Now, in the back here, you can see me actually getting assets from Roblox themselves. A lot of you guys ask me, how do you do that? How do you put Roblox assets inside of Blender or your program or into your 3D software? Well, I would suggest watch YouTube videos. Just look up how to do it. And then second, there's a lot of free plugins on Roblox Studio that completely help you to, you know, import accessories and assets and whatever you need into Roblox Studio, and then so into Blender. So it's really straightforward once you understand it, and after you do it like a few times, then it's very straightforward. But it's definitely going to be a little bit complex once you get around all the weird file format and OBJs and, you know, mystical magical numbers of whatever. Then after you get past through that, it makes all sense. Not like that sentence or word I just said. Makes all sense. Makes all sense. Okay, yep, that is a sentence. Don't know if that made sense, but whatever. Anyways, I'm just here making sure that, you know, noob and guest are properly rigged and that they are properly made and, you know, ready to be animated. A lot of time in 3D animations that people do not talk about, especially when you're a one-man crew like me. I'm the only one who animates it, who designs it, who models it, who textures it, so it's super painful. But a lot of people don't talk about the texturing. The texturing takes so freaking darn long. Like, why? I don't understand, but it takes way too long, man. Way too long. Okay, so now it's time to actually get, you know, this placed, you know, starting out to actually animate, the blocking out of the animation. Here I do a couple weird things, which I'll explain in a moment, but just making sure that the rig works properly is very important for animation so that you don't, you know, end up with glitches and everything like that. And getting the poses and movements correct is extremely important. You know, when you first start, that's extremely important. I think I just found this like random glitch or thing that when I turn my guy's head, his arm looks like it's moving and twisting. I think that's just the camera moving, but I can't tell. It's kind of cool. I like it. Hey, look at that. Whoa. It's kind of nice. I like it. That's very weird. Whoa. Oh, and by the way, I did move his head back like that. Like, his head is not attached just because it needs space for the camera. So, yes, his head is not attached to him, but will be attached later. It will be attached later. Okay? I finally remembered what I'm doing is called. It's called pose to pose. Pretty much making sure that the actual parts that are the most important parts of a story, right? For example, if you're writing a story, you want to make sure you have a beginning, middle, and end, right? So you want to make sure to have the character have a beginning, a middle, and an end to their action. Hopefully that makes sense. So let's say that you just want a character walking. You want them to take a step, then to lift the leg, and then put down the other leg and take another step. And then it continues from that. That is a beginning, middle, and end to your action. And I'm just doing that for a bunch of different actions. You know, Noob running up the stairs, him coming to the door. That's not Noob. what am I saying? A freaking guest running up the stairs, him coming to the door, him opening the door, seeing Noob. Oh no! That is gonna... Noob is bad! Noob's a bad guy! Yeah, so it makes sure that it has a beginning, middle, and end to the story, into the actions. That it all flows into each other and makes sense. You know, you don't want to just, have guests coming in and then noobs pulling out a sword or something and then being like, out guide, and then just randomly fighting or whatever. Unless that's what you want in your story, I guess. But it's whatever you want, really. You're the animator, you know? Otherwise, I really liked how I created the actual noob transforming into Killer Noob. Because, for me, it doesn't really make a lot of sense for Guest 666 to be transformed into this kind of bigger beast without, like... What happened to the original body? Like, what happened to Guest 666? Did he just, like, I don't know, have a growth spurt? And then boom, that's just now big him? Well, I kind of gave some more context for this in my design and my animation. It's Killer Noob breaking out of the skin of Noob and then attacking Guest 666. So, makes a little bit more sense. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. Okay, so here's the base animation that I'm working on right now. Got him running up the stairs. Then he opens the door. Boom, slams open the door. Noob looks at him. Noob, Noob looks at him. And then transforms. And he roars at him, which I haven't animated yet. But you get that simple stuff. There's a lot of, again, this is just like the base, so it's still pretty scuffed up. But it gives me an idea of like how everything's going to be, what the beats are, making sure that the timing is correct, and just making sure that the whole thing is pretty nice. Which is, okay, this is what I want to do anyway, Now I need to clean it up a little bit and focus on the in-betweens and stuff, and then the lighting and the shadow, there's so many things I still need to do, but I'm hopeful I can do it in today or tomorrow. Okay, so this is how the animation is looking, which you can already see kind of like a better view at it, a better understanding of what I'm trying to do. He runs up, boom, 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 and he gets to the door, opens it, Noob looks at him, turns around, boom, 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 and screams. And that's the intro. I know it's a long one. What I can do here, why I kind of wanted it to make it a bit longer was so that like it tells a story. You see guests running, you get the first person view, running to the door, then you cut to the door opening, that opens. If you really wanted this to be like an actual intro, it would probably start from here with door opening, the camera moving, door opening, and then it will reveal here, killer guest, boom, comes out, and all that cool stuff. But I just wanted to tell a little bit of a story here. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Just wanted to tell a little bit of a story. So right here, I want a picture of guest and noob sitting right here. I thought it'd be really, really kind of cute and sad at the same time. Also, I wanted to create his entire room. Have like scratches, bed here, all that different stuff, all like crazy, maybe some writing on the wall that says he lied to me or something like that, or something. I could do something vague but still creepy. Vague and creepy, and so I did. And so I made a great, vague and creepy, wonderful, great, vague and creepiness. Sorry, I'm just doing an accent. Sorry, my accent came out a little bit there. Sorry. Anyways, I wanted to make sure that this is pretty good with the accessories and the assets inside of here, that it tells a little bit of the story of the environment around him. Also, one weird thing about Roblox lore, this is actual Roblox lore, the teapot that I used in the back sitting on the dresser of Noob's room, that is actually a really overpowered teapot that gave pretty much admin permissions to anybody and everybody who wore it or had it in their catalog. Yeah, it just in any game, it allowed them to fly, shoot stuff, special abilities. It was kind of really overpowered. So just random little lore drop there. I don't know why Noob has it, but I just wanted it there, so yeah. Okie dokie. We have freaking, what is it? I changed the timing of the animation a little bit, so you can see here. I made it a little bit better. So as he runs up, timing, when he turns around, when Noob actually turns, it's a lot slower, more creepy, and then it kind of stays, and then it moves. Just so that I have more of that, you can see more of that anticipation in that scene. Also, something that is just important, I did decorate the scene a little bit. So we have some desks, we have a cabinet or whatever, a dresser, I guess. And then in Noob's room, all scratches on the wall, a bunch of everything, teapot, all that good stuff. And then a little thing here. If we actually play the animation here, we open the door, it cuts to here, which reveals a painting of Quixel and Noob. I forget, I should probably put their username, whoever this is that made this, up here somewhere. Hopefully I remember to do that. Sometimes I forget. But yeah, now oh wait, look, here's the username. Look, oh my god. So it's that's their username. There it is. Wonderful. But yeah, this is just a painting symbolizing their kind of the part of friendship and stuff. Even though they are friends, they get distant, and then it reveals Noob, and then Fixer back, and then yeah, all good. Now it's time for lighting and effects and stuff. Let's get that ready to rumble. Time for the lighting and the effects. Now, I kind of dread making the lighting just because it's very particular and sometimes very hard for me to create the feeling that I want to express through the lighting and through the animations and through the environment. So I really start editing things here visually when I get to the lighting, so that sometimes can change the entire feel of the animation. So you can see me kind of going back and forth here a lot, which is just natural with a lot of my art because I did not know what I wanted to do. But luckily I did add my style that I have with the studs and then the mixtures of the actual textures, this kind of like cartoonish textures with the wood and with the carpet. It just adds that kind of realistic, but this is also Roblox style to this, kind of bringing this into my own style that I want to show. Making sure that the lighting on the painting is also, highlighted, because I want you to be able to see the painting and not just it to be shadowed in darkness and whatever. And then I also wanted to create a red aura effect around Noob, or Killer Noob, when he comes out of normal Noob. So I created that with just a couple lights and this very crazy effect that you'll see at the end where the entire scene looks like it's glitching out. So I really liked how it looked in the end. Tell me what you guys think. Anyways, time for the beauty shots. Okay, thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you liked 2 animations. Yes, I said 2, so you're gonna have to skip back. I lied. There's 1 animation, but I know that people like to skip to the end. And if you don't, then you're awesome. Thank you so much for watching this, and you all have a wonderful morning, night, or afternoon. Peace out.